You ever have one of those neighbors who turns your whole life into a running joke you just can't get out of? Yeah, that's how I'd sum up my last year living at Willow Pines. I never thought selling my own house would feel like trying to break out of prison, but that was before Cheryl showed her true colors. Picture this: 5 years in a neighborhood where the grass is always supposed to be greener, because the HOA says so, but in reality, it's just the shade of stress. So I finally landed a decent job across the state, better schools for my kid, and, I thought, a ticket to freedom. I listed my place, hired this upbeat real estate agent named Rick, and told my daughter we'd be out before she finished her summer reading. Man, if only life were that simple. That's when Cheryl decided to personally audition for the role of gatekeeper of suburbia. She's not just my neighbor, she's the HOA board's unofficial president for life, clipboard glued to her hand, always hovering like a drone with a caffeine buzz. The second my for sale sign hit the front yard, her smile crashed faster than the Wi-Fi during a thunderstorm. Within 2 days, there's a neon pink notice taped to my door. Apparently, my mailbox doesn't comply with community standards. Beige. Always been beige. But sure, I'll paint it again. I fixed the mailbox, then, bam, lawn violation, then a mysterious complaint about my porch light. And don't even get me started on the unauthorized garden gnome. Each week, a new hoop to jump through, and, shocker, the HOA board only meets once a month, so every little thing drags out. You think that's petty? Just wait. My first showing, Cheryl throws a yard sale right in front of her house, tables loaded with chipped mugs, creepy dolls, and enough cat figurines to fill a museum, blasting old country music from a speaker like she's DJing a retirement home riot. My buyers didn't even finish their coffee before they turned around and left. Rick said it was just bad luck, but the coincidences kept piling up. Leaf blowers roaring right as we had showings, her sprinklers accidentally soaking the front walk. Or Cheryl cornering my potential buyers with stories about the one neighbor who barbecues too late. Spoiler, it's me. She wasn't just a pain, she was coordinated. Every move aimed at making my house look like a lost cause. But what Cheryl didn't know is I'm a bit of a tech nerd. Ring cameras everywhere, porch, driveway, even a cam in the garage window. I started collecting receipts. I caught the noise, the casual chats with buyers, the sabotage. The best was when she leaned in during a showing and whispered to a couple, "Nice house, but I heard there's mold. HOA's involved, but they won't tell you up front." There was never any mold, but it's not about truth when you're out here running your own little smear campaign, right? So I took my footage to the HOA board, hoping maybe someone would care. Nope. Just polite nods and a reminder that Cheryl's a pillar of the community. "Oh, and by the way, your fence is 2 inches too high. Better fix that." At that point, it hit me. The board didn't just tolerate Cheryl, they were basically her fan club. If I wanted out, I'd have to go around the system. So I did what any frustrated homeowner would do: filed a formal complaint with the State Real Estate Commission. Turns out, interfering with a home sale is a pretty big deal when you're not a licensed agent. Meanwhile, Rick and I documented every incident, dates, names, all the petty drama. We started scheduling showings when Cheryl's car was gone, and I hired my own home inspector to prove, for the record, there was no mold, no issues. I left copies of that spotless report on the kitchen counter at every showing, big smiley face drawn on top, just to let folks know, this is what petty but precise looks like. Suddenly Cheryl switched tactics, waving to buyers, smiling at me like we were old friends in on a private joke. That's when I knew I'd struck a nerve. But the game wasn't over. Next week, I get a notice from the HOA. Unauthorized surveillance devices visible from the street. Basically, Cheryl didn't like being on camera. You know what's more uncomfortable, Cheryl? Getting filmed sabotaging someone's life. I taped their letter right to the HOA's door with a sticky note. Smile. You're on camera, too. Right around then, the state commission called. They were actually taking the case. They asked for evidence. I sent them a file labeled Cheryl Crimes Volume 1. And just as things started to heat up, something unexpected happened. My neighbor across the street, Helen, knocked on my door. She'd been quietly watching the circus all along, but now she had her own tea to spill. Cheryl's term on the HOA board had expired last year, but no one ever held an election. She just stuck around like a bad pop-up ad you can't close. Armed with that, I went into full, lawful petty mode. There's a little-known rule in our bylaws. Any homeowner can call a special meeting with enough signatures. A weekend, a box of donuts, and a lot of Ring doorbell chats later, I had my list. On meeting night, I walked in with my laptop, hit play on the best of Cheryl video montage, laid out her expired term, the sabotage, even the secret mold rumors. You could hear people's jaws hit the laminate floors. And when someone finally asked, why would she do all this just to stop you from moving? I said the thing everyone was thinking, but no one had dared to say, Cheryl doesn't run this neighborhood. She just thinks she does. There was a hush, then a vote, and Cheryl was out. Just like that. People started clapping, someone actually cheered, and for a split second, I thought the worst was behind me. But, some people just don't go quietly. 2 days later, I get an anonymous complaint about unlicensed rental activity. Apparently, someone told the city I was running an illegal Airbnb. Total fiction, not renting a thing. But, thanks to the report, I had to deal with an inspector, and my closing got pushed back a week while I proved I wasn't running a ghost hostel. That's when it hit me. Cheryl wasn't even trying to win anymore. She just wanted to waste my time. But poetic justice has a way of boomeranging back, right? Remember Helen? She drops by one last time with the final twist. Cheryl had built an illegal addition on the back of her house, a little wine den, 5 feet into HOA-protected land, with no permits. I made a single call to code enforcement. 2 weeks later, there's a notice duct taped to Cheryl's door. City says tear it down or else. The kicker? Cheryl tries to sell her own house before anyone can blink, but can't even list until she demolishes her beloved sanctuary. Meanwhile, I finally closed the deal. A nice family moved in, armed with the full HOA saga and a stack of clean inspection reports. On moving day, I took one last look at Cheryl's place. She was out back, hammer in hand, tearing down that illegal patio like she was burying the past. No eye contact, no grand speech, just the sound of someone realizing they'd finally lost. It's funny, after years of noise, that was the most peaceful goodbye she ever gave me. But here's the thing. In these suburban jungles, sometimes the folks who act like they run everything are just terrified of losing control. Makes you wonder, if you had a Cheryl on your street, would you play by the rules? Or would you teach them a lesson they'll never forget? So, let's hear it. Do you think justice was served? Or did it all just go too far? Drop your thoughts below. And if you've got your own HOA war story, I want to hear it. Don't hold back. Let's keep the conversation going.